Hello, everyone. I'm testing out my new hardware. I didn't change like my audio, video, or that. Just back in streamlining of audio, trying to get it easier to do everything set up and all that. And I don't have video on purpose because it didn't matter for the purpose of this coverage. This is really quick, and it is designed to hopefully help keep people safe around the miners on LIBERA Financial and subsequently THOREUM, I think, because they have the same flaw. And I feel my obligation is to try to help make people understand what is the biggest issue I see with this business based on something I observed. Now, the miner, the way that it's presented, for those that don't know, when you deposit money in this business, you don't get it back, and it tries to pay you passives over time based on whatever your deposit was as kind of a trickle out. So they give you all this that's not factually accurate, but so you understand, you put stuff in, this is your deposit, and you accumulate, which is your deposit plus your compound, creates your total fund, which is how much your value is, and this is all in the form of the liquidity pool, not in a stable coin. Why am I making a distinction? Because as it's a liquidity pool, your true value is actually somewhat lower because LIBERA, which is half of the liquidity pool, is crapping. So just be aware, this is not giving you the value of Binance USD, the stable. It's giving you the value of essentially 50% stable, 50% liquidity token, LIBERA in this case. And so it's going to be lower and decreasing because LIBERA is crapping. The theory was that LIBERA was going to be deflationary and such later would go up in price. We can't prove that it will or won't, and I'm not here to talk about whether it will or won't. I'm simply here to show this business here and why I believe this is, I don't think it's malicious in intent. I think they built it this way on purpose to try to gamify it. They called that out down below. I talked about that in my video earlier, but anybody that's thinking about getting in it or already in it may or may not be aware of the way they did this thing. So they had this whole, deposit prize and, who put how much in and at what point. One of the commenters on CoinMarketCap and even on Twitter said, it feels like you can't win this business. That's what I'm focused on to this episode. That's what I'm focused on. Notice this person here, $2,100, and they're getting $6,000. I frankly don't think it's worth it. However, that person felt it was worth it. But here's the problem. The way that this interface, this part here is displaying is not live data. It's actually data in arrears. There's a delay in how much they say is the top amount for a given period. So when this ticker goes down where they say it's supposed to be, in this case, this is my local time, and I'm pretty sure it's going to show you in your local time zone. When this ticks down and you get to this being zero, meaning it should stop, it's not actually stopping. It's still accumulating deposits during this time. So let's say right now you looked at this and it was getting close to the end and it was truly 17777. What should happen is by the moment this hits 1 second or 2 seconds, if you put 200 in there, the moment it hits zero, it should stop accumulating everything and credit you as the winner. That's not what it does, folks. What it instead does is there's all these accumulations it hasn't shown you yet. And chances are somebody's already gotten in that's way beyond what you deposited. The flaw is that down here, they will show your wallet address as presuming to have won with this little clock business. However, the truth is you haven't, because there might have been 1, 2, 3, or 5 other deposits that came in at the last minute that they don't show you. I find this, again, I think they did this on purpose. I think they did this to make it a game, a rat race as we describe it, rather than what they ethically should have done, which is to make this live. The moment somebody deposits, this should instantly update so you know where you're at any given time and whether it's worth your time to do a deposit. Because maybe for you, it doesn't make sense to toss more than, say, $500 to get this from a ROI perspective. Just be aware that both of the miners do the same thing. this ticker is not live. So when it gets down to the zero, it's not true that you only need 17777. You might need over $1,000. You might think you won and then you didn't win. And because you can't get that money back, I'm strongly advocating that if you're going to go into the miner, make sure it's throwaway money because you cannot get it back. It's trickled to you, sure. I'm talking about the deposit. The deposit cannot be withdrawn once it's done. To me, as a personal opinion, the deposit might make sense if you knew you were going to get this reward, because then it might be significant above and beyond your deposit. Like again, if it's like $500, $600, that's not bad if you knew that you were going to win the prize and you were sure that the timing was perfect, because in some limited cases, like here, it wasn't crazy bad and you might have been able to sneak in there. But in other cases, no, somebody got in at the last minute and beat your run up. My only point is, if you're going to go into the miners, whether this one or the thorium miner, my point is just, you cannot trust this. And you cannot trust this because they're not live data. It's not showing you the true state of where this thing is. So if you're doing it just for the deposit prize, understand this is the core definition of gambling. You are essentially in a casino because you can't know if you won or not, and that money will not come back to you except through trickle down. If you're one of those that's got thousands to blow and you don't really care because you're trying to, double or triple or whatever with minimal whatever, and you're okay with $2,000 to win 6, have at it, because you already knew that. And because most of the whales, the newness is gone, you'll have a stronger probability of winning if you're willing to deposit between $1,500 and $2,500 now, because there's less of those people willing to put that much money in there. We're getting close to the threshold, the upper threshold being around $2,000-ish. So there's, I'm sure, going to be some whales during whatever run up, like say if there's some bull run that happens, which hasn't happened yet, then I'm sure that some of that might go up. But as it stands right now, if you're going to go in the miner, understand that pretty much your investment for a closer, like your confidence of bet is going to need to be roughly around 2,000 or greater, regardless of the current past numbers that you see on here, because the data they're giving you is not live and thus, in effect, misrepresenting exactly the state of this business. If you're going in it just because you like the miner, have at it. It is what it is, and it will pay you through trickle out. Be aware, again, that it's not the value, this value that it quotes you here is not the true value in the stable coin. It is the value in the liquidity pair, and 50% of it is crapping. So the value they quote you here is on a stable coin equivalent. However, it's misleading. And you'll see that once it cashes out, once you get a claim, you'll see that that number that they quote you here is lower than what you thought it would be. And it's because if you look here after you do it, you'll see that the value is lower. That's because 50% of it essentially is decreasing because they're issuing arguably a liquidity pool. If you do a manual claim on this, it's supposed to give you Binance USD and nothing else. However, you're still getting nailed because there are fees and other things that happen when you hit the button. Plus, you're going to want to count the gas when you do the transaction. And the gas, for whatever reason, has been exceeding $1 in some cases, which makes no sense to me. Summary, this is misleading. So if you're going off of it to determine the right amount of money to put in, be aware it's a gamble. And even if it ticks to zero, it doesn't mean they're stopping. They're not. They're still accumulating deposits. And it's a good bet that unless you put in at least $2,000, you're probably going to get overridden by somebody else that was timing it just like you're doing. Number two, the claim amount that you get is going to be lower than the amount they quote that you're supposed to get because of all the fees and everything that's baked into it that you don't see. I thought I'd bring that to attention because I'm not sure everybody knew that, frankly. And some of these, as it dwindles, I believe that there's going to be some changes, at least I hope so, changes in the mining strategy to improve it. And this is points of feedback that I think the devs should be open to. Whether they're open to it or not, I have no idea.